Well, 2 weeks until the NFL draft, we can hardly wait. We're already dressed up for a draft tonight. But at this point, is there, I mean, this has been the longest offseason, quote unquote, a pre-draft process ever. Is there anything else to do 2 weeks out?
Yeah, 2 weeks left. What's left? And I think there are really two major categories here. Number one, housekeeping. This is where the teams now go back and make sure they have all of the correct phone numbers, contact information, not only for the draftable players, but also their agents. Also, you've got to make sure that you've filled in the blanks on all of the players that were non-combine participants. In other words, players that were a bit off the radar. Do we need one more workout on that player? Or, hey, do we need that last 40 time on a given player that we just have not been able to get access to because of maybe an injury? And oftentimes there is a workout maybe a week or so before the draft. Last year, Tank Carradine, the defensive end from Florida State, actually had a workout the week of the draft. So that is a situation that falls under the category of housekeeping. The other thing that goes on 2 weeks in advance of the draft is the free agent recruiting process. You know, in college football, Rob, it's 90% recruiting and 10% evaluations. In professional football, it's 90% evaluations and 10% recruiting. And that recruiting takes place right now between now and the draft, where the scouts are assigned different positions, different players, and they actually go and tell these players, call them up on the phone and say, hey, we want to draft you, but if the circumstance is set up that we can't draft you, then we'd love to sign you as a free agent. And really, free agency this year with 98 juniors coming in, this is almost going to be like the 8th, 9th, and 10th rounds, because there are going to be some very good players that are still available after the draft. Now, the second order of business, so to speak, next to the housekeeping, and this one is really important, is communicating everything that you've done concisely to ownership, to make sure that the owner is on board with the game plan that we discussed last week in terms of the first 3 rounds. This is our strategy going into the draft, and we would love for you to sign off on this and understand what our thinking is going into draft weekend. And that is usually done over the course of maybe a couple of phone conversations, but ultimately in person the week of the draft.
It's always good to make your boss happy so that you're around for the next draft.